So let's talk about the absolute state of the English and England, which is not going to be great, let's be honest. I think we've all established that with previous research.
Yep.
But, we kind of did this haphazardly all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I thought we'd just collect it and just have a look. How are the English doing? Just as a quick spot check.
I wrote an article the other day called The Decline, just because literally everyone...
Really? Not that everything's fine?
No, everyone can see that everything's falling apart.
Yeah, that's true as well. Speaking of which, actually, I was literally just down at McDonald's. English family next to me talking about how there's been another migrant incident in Swindon. One of them went into the sports shop and tried to get the shoes, and then the police had to turn up and explain to him that he didn't have enough money for the shoes, so he can't have them. And he was like, "But I want shoes."
But I had breakfast this morning.
Yeah,
oh my god! Yeah, okay, retard.
A million IQ. But we'll start off with the article from you saying the census data proves Britain is not a nation of immigrants, in case you want to go through the numbers, as we've been through before. But there's been quite a series of events the last 24 hours to 48, and I want to talk about them. So we'll start off with something that's not in that last period, which is France, which, about the English, you'll see why in a minute. Now, this story blew up in English language spheres whilst
Because
I was...
it's awful.
Yeah, local Frenchman with his beret and baguette. No. Asylum seeker.
Literally starts stabbing children in a park.
Yeah, he stabbed 4 babies in their prams.
I mean, this is just literally the worst nightmare a parent can have.
Police say the suspect has refugee status in Sweden, because they want him, recently came to France, leaving behind a wife and a 3-year-old daughter. In an unsuccessful asylum application last year for refugee status in France, he said he was a Syrian Christian. He just lied to them.
Yeah.
He's got refugee status in Sweden. He just can't be bothered to live there. This actually isn't unsurprising.
What's happened to his wife and kid?
Just stay there. This isn't unsurprising. We've been over this many a time. What happens is these people are so desperate and fleeing war, wink, wink, that they get to Sweden, find out it's cold, and then leave.
Yeah.
They're not fleeing. It's just comical. So, obvious liar turns up in France, obviously lies again. In recent years, France has become accustomed to knife attacks, right, the BBC.
Oh, well.
Often carried out
by Samuel Paty.
By solitary young men.
Yeah.
Just men. With backgrounds in petty crime, some with Islamist connections. Yeah, okay, right, BBC. Now, this story happened and blew up whilst I happened to be travelling in France, and I checked my phone, I saw in English Twitter, it massively blew up, and rightfully so, because it's ridiculous, and also is a problem we've been dealing with for quite some time in the West. And I spoke to a French lady at some point eventually, and she was very politically clued in. She wasn't someone who's just ignore me. She votes, she pays attention, blah, blah, blah. But she's not of the right. She was just, seemingly, I don't know, average. And I asked average Frenchman.
Macron voter.
Peasant, communist, average Frenchman. That's a joke. But point being, asked her, and I said, well, has this blown up in French language? Because we've all been speaking about this online. And she said, actually, the first person to even ask me about it. This is days after the event.
Man stabbed to death a bunch of
babies in prams.
In broad daylight.
I don't believe they...
park.
Thankfully, I don't believe they died in the end.
Oh, really?
So
Well,
they're in
thank
hospital
God.
care. And
thank God for small mercies. But he still stabbed a bunch of bloody babies.
yeah, but this is just normal for them at this point. This sort of thing happens, and they're 10 years ahead of us. So great. The next sentence out of her mouth was how she was worried about Islamophobia in France. I mean, I don't know if she was. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she was just trying to play the NPC to me because she's worried what I might say or something. Because you never really know in the West anymore. No one really tells you the truth on their mind. Because we all hide it. Because we know the consequences if you don't.
Man goes on stabbing of babies, Muslim community most affected.
Yeah, and the London response was the exact same. You can see Sky News here, who decided to have a conversation about it. Yeah. And the guest they had on said, my fear is regardless of the outcome of the fact that the suspect is a refugee, it will be used by the far right. Now, if this...
My fear is that the babies will die.
If this so-called far right, because remember, when they use this, they're referring to Le Pen. Or, she is... I'm sorry, but her manifesto is not of the far right, as people actually think of that word. So if this so-called far right was in power, and their fear was dead babies, would we have more or less dead babies?
Did we get Eric Zamore's take on this?
I haven't got it, actually.
I bet it was brilliant. I bet it was just like... I mean, I'm not even going to go say what it is.
But that's the concern is the far right. The concern is Islamophobia. Not their concern is more dead babies.
Yeah, your babies are disposable.
That's the concern of how do the far right think about that?
That literally, these people, to them, the adult man and the community he comes from is more important than your children.
So we get the next link. I mean, it really is the Norm Macdonald joke about ISIS getting a dirty bomb.
Yeah.
And if they let it off and millions of people are killed by ISIS, the real tragedy would be the backlash against innocent Muslims in America. Everyone's heard it. If the 3 people who haven't, there you have it. It's great. But let's move back to the UK, because there was an attack in Nottingham a couple of days ago. Not Islamist. This was 3 people. I believe they were killed by a white man.
Just the average white van.
Average white van. And so, you know, local tragedy, act of God. Nothing could have been done. Yeah, no. We get the next one here. Daily Mail reported that it was a West African migrant with a history of petty drug dealing. And at no point did anyone think, well, maybe we should probably deport him then, if he's already breaking the laws on petty issues.
He has a series of criminal offences under his belt.
Diversity is our strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've done a segment about this going on the weekend, so we'll try not to focus on that too much, because that's one thing, and the difference of how to deal with that. I just want to check in on the English. How are you doing? Because what's the instant response from the people, let's say, closest? I don't know, the mothers of the people who have been killed. Well, for some reason, I mean, this is actually kind of creepy as an event in and of itself.
Yeah.
Local migrant kills some people, and the authorities of our nation decide to put on some kind of festival, almost. I mean, I know it's meant to be a vigil, is the idea, but why? Why, exactly, do you decide to do this? And bring all the national media that you control to film it? Why do you do that? Usually, you know, I remember when Lee Rigby was killed, I mean, what happens is local people put down some kind of plaques or murals or candles, and that's about it. But for some reason...
that's appropriate.
Yeah, but it's also natural and grassroots.
Yep.
Whereas for some reason, in recent years, when something else happens, I don't know, just for some reason it also turns into some kind of Reading festival. Numbers of people.
Now it's a kind of weird sort of ritual they have to go through, right?
Yeah, and they have an assortment of people on the stage speaking, which I'm sure has all been naturally and organically put together from the grassroots, nothing else. And they have the mother up there. And the mother, I would presume, would have given a speech in a normal country where this has happened about how to stop this from happening in future, how much she missed her children who have been killed, how maybe if she's struggling, people can donate to try and pay for the funeral or cremation, because, you know, I might not be doing so well. You know, this happens to all people. She might be talking about any number of things that would be relevant to her life. Instead, she gave a speech here, and the tagline is, "Please hold no hate to any race, colour, sex, or religion in your heart." The primary concern was not what had happened. It was not her family. The thing that was presented as the primary concern was the state's position, the ideology of the state here.
Yeah. But what she's saying here, though, is that racism is worse than a murder.
Let's play it. Let's play this, because the event is weird in and of itself, in my opinion.
This evil person is just that. He is just a person. Please hold no hate that relates to any colour, sex, or religion.
Then can we give him the death penalty?
I think I'm watching a movie of like a downfall of a country. It's not real, almost. I mean, the audio issues there are just because Sky News obviously had to turn up so quickly. Because they tried to organise a Reading Festival level of event in a few hours, that the internet connection isn't good enough.
I noticed that the crowd's demographics are very white British.
And for some reason, they've had time to print a massive banner that says "One City, Nottingham Together." That hashtag just came out of nowhere. Right, I've hinted at it enough, I think. We're going to get back to the subject of how organic these responses are to these events on Monday, because I happen to have an article detailing how this seems to have happened a lot in previous events, and we'll go back to that on Monday. So do tune in on Monday when we'll be talking about that. But I'm going to move on, just detail, stay at the English, as I said. We have the other mother who came out at the same event for the other, I believe, university student who was killed. She gave a speech saying, don't have hate in your hearts. The primary concern, again, was state's ideology, not anything else.
My daughter's life was important, but being an anti-racist is more important.
It certainly is. And this isn't the first time, as we've been over in the past. Manchester held the weirdest response, just odd, to say the least, You may remember the Manchester
Yeah.
bombing, where a local man of, I don't know, was local Baz, decided to turn up and bomb a load of children.
Yeah, bomb a concert, so 22 mothers and children died.
And as you can see, the primary response from the authorities...
Could have been prevented, except the guard at the time was like, oh, that looks a bit sus. No, that's racist. That's
Yeah.
literally a racist thought in my head.
That was actually why he didn't stop him.
Yeah.
So we have a load of dead children because of anti-racism in that instance.
Yes, 22 people died because a man was afraid of being a racist.
And in this case, the primary response was to sing the song Don't Look Back in Anger. All spontaneously, they decided to just sing Don't Look Back in Anger to a bunch of their children being murdered.
But why should I not? Why should I not be angry if it were my kids who had been murdered?
Well, I mean, this question was asked by Piers Morgan, and he was the only person, you may remember, at the time, I mean, of all the people, Piers Morgan came out on his show and said, no, I think anger is the correct response
It's appropriate.
to a bunch of children being murdered by a foreign terrorist.
Yes. Totally appropriate.
How did the media take his break of character on a platform that had millions of views?
Piers Morgan might be like, the ultimate stooge of the regime, but even he's like, well, hang on a second.
But you can see it was one small crack in the entire narrative, and immediately, as you can see, the Huffington Post reporting here, Manchester bombing Coronation Street stars Sally whatever and Corrie whoever shut down Piers Morgan's response to the attack. What? Sorry, who agrees with who's two random people from Coronation Street?
Well,
I mean, if you
so-
did the polling, what would be the response? Oh, there wasn't any polling done because...
You don't want the public opinion on this because it's not going to go their way. But even then, like,
How dare you suggest that we should do something to change what's happening, instead of repeating the cycle again and again and expecting something to change?
but why? Like, it has the aspect of sort of being pro-bombing.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, if you had said this about the IRA, everyone would have been like, are you an IRA sympathizer?
Yeah. I mean, if you'd say this about Russia now,
Don't look back in anger to the IRA.
Russia's just taken a city in Ukraine. Well, don't look back in anger.
Look, Novichok was
Well, that's the thing.
I mean, you don't do it for anything else.
Exactly. You would never do it for anything else because you'd be called a sympathizer and you'd be saying you want more of it to happen.
London Bridge. This happened again. This is 2019. Yeah.
Yeah.
The brilliant and handsome 25-year-old, the victim in this case, Jack Merritt, he ran a law course inside a jailhouse as part of his work with a program that helped ex-cons rebuild their lives. Oh, how wonderful. And one of those ex-cons, Usman Khan, 28, stabbed Merritt to death on Friday, authorities said.
They were having Merritt was trying to help him or something, and they were.
He was the poster boy with
Yeah,
Usman being like,
yeah.
we're going to get you out of prison, you're reformed. And then
Usman stabbed him.
Usman came out and just stabbed him to death and a bunch of other people.
Yeah.
The father, in this case, again, his primary concern in the speech that was presented was not for the funeral, for how to stop this happening again, blah, blah, blah. Instead, his response was weird. Next link here. He came out and gave a kind of hostage statement. His father, David, who said his son would not wish his death to be used as a pretext for more draconian sentencing or for detaining people unnecessary. He said this after Boris Johnson said that the system of automatic release from prison was flawed.
Duh.
So Boris Johnson sees your son get murdered and says, we should stop that. And your response as a father is, well, don't you undermine the work my son did? You'd still have a... I mean, I'm sorry to be blunt. You
I don't know what to say. I
you
mean,
wouldn't have a dead person in the family.
it's very Yuri Bezmenov, isn't it? Where he says that even when they're presented with the direct evidence, they can't believe it.
Yeah, and this is what... I mean, we'll get into the orchestrated aspects on Monday, as I said. But usually when there's an attack or something, the person doesn't become a political actor. They stay out of it. The death isn't politicized. We have a conversation
It's
about
a
terrorism,
family tragedy.
counterterrorism. Right, but the individuals involved don't. For some reason, in these series of attacks I've just mentioned, the family come out and start acting like political actors, talking about the state's message or state actions.
I essentially have to come out and endorse multiculturalism.
Yeah, why? Exactly. And that politicizes the event. And it's like, okay. We go to the next one. David since has become a political actor, it seems. He gave a statement as well, saying that following last Friday's attacks, the Conservatives have pledged to toughen up prison sentences. Merritt believes this would have angered his son, who had devotion and energy for the purpose of prisoner rehabilitation, which is what got him killed.
Why don't we ask it? Oh, we can't, yeah.
Like, literally, the guy who was killed him.
They literally, when presented with the concrete evidence, there's no graphene on the roof, Callum. They can't. They literally can't. The guy can literally murder the son, and the father's like, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, but you're a racist. Like, it's a, no.
So he made a statement about this. So as I mentioned, David has become a political actor. He has his own Twitter account where he does political activism.
It's tragic.
I mean, you can guess the profile. I'm not going to be rude, but you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
immediately. We'll go to it. We'll go to the next one here because you can see it there. He made this tweet. And this tweet, I'm going to go through the contents of what he's talking about here, but rather the thing that got deleted from him. He tweeted something that was deleted and then was brought back by Twitter once they realised who he was. Let me just look at the profile picture, but we'll get to the statement. So he tweets out, Conservatives, your government released Usman Khan, who killed Jack Merritt and Saskia Jones at London Bridge in 2019, failed to respond to clear warnings about danger from the Reading stabber, failed to prevent the Manchester Arena bombing, all serious crime up on your watch, hang your heads.
I mean, I agree with that. They are right. They shouldn't have released Usman Khan.
David is correct.
They shouldn't have just let the Manchester bomber go because they didn't want to be racist.
Well, he's saying that the crime is up. He's not saying what we should do about it.
Yeah.
David is correct that the crime is up. What should we do about it? I'll just go through the examples David gave. Because, I don't know, the English seem to have a particular
My
problem.
timeline is full of right-wing arseholes. I wonder why, David.
So we'll go to the next one here. We have the Reading stabber. Just quick fact check. He was a jihadist Libyan asylum seeker.
Yeah. Stabbed 3 gay men, wasn't it?
He said he was fleeing post-traumatic stress that he had from the civil war in Libya and came to the United Kingdom from Libya in 2017 to escape the violence.
So he stabbed 3 gay men.
The violence in question was the violence he was committing for Ansar al-Sharia, who are allied to Al-Qaeda.
Of course.
So he was out there killing people for a group allied with Al-Qaeda, and then said, this is too violent. UK, please save me. Came to the UK, and then was convicted 6 times for 15 crimes between 2015 and 2019, of which 8 were violent, 2 involved the possession of a knife, and 2 for racially or religiously aggravated harassment.
Yeah.
And at no point did our government think we should deport him.
There's the kid that was stabbed in the neck in the street the other day. Do you remember?
Which one?
Well, yeah. And just again, another asylum seeker, just with a knife. And he stabbed this kid because he wanted to get deported.
Well, that's the way to do it.
No, it's not. They're not going to get deported.
No,
That's the thing. They're not going to get deported.
Yeah, so I mean, he
But,
stabbed 3 gay men in Reading. The gay part always seems to have been forgotten in Reading. I happen to be for it.
I just can't stand it. It's like, look, if we had the death penalty, none of these things would be a problem because they'd be like, well, if I did anything, if I stab someone, I'm not getting deported, I'm getting hanged, as it should be.
But I always want to bring up the gay thing because I'm annoyed in this particular instance that this not only got swept under the rug, but that particular aspect, no one who talks about it ever mentions it. Locally, everyone talks about it still.
I bet they do.
Go down the Oxford Road, those guys don't, but off the sides, they do, for some reason. Anyway, go to the Manchester bomber, the other one David mentioned. Well, we've been over this. Libyan refugee, family of Islamists who were fleeing justice by Gaddafi.
Yep.
That would be death for terrorism. The bomber was born in the UK, but for some reason, I don't think a person who bombs children for the glory of Allah is very British, just because they're born in the UK.
No.
So I don't believe he's a horse either. Threatened a school teacher whilst he was here with accusations of Islamophobia, because the school teacher asked him if he thought suicide bombers, what he thought about them, and he responded that they were okay.
Right, okay.
So because the teacher had asked him and he'd responded that suicide bombing was okay, he reported the teacher for Islamophobia.
Good point.
That incident doesn't make the school call up Prevent and go, we should deport this guy.
Yeah,
But he's a lunatic.
This guy's pro-suicide bombing.
Also, his family. Have you ever checked up what they're doing these days? Well, at that time, they were fighting with the Islamic Fighting Group, another Islamist terrorist group. Terrorists in the UK, in case you're wondering. Literally illegal to even have moral support for them, but they were allowed to stay here, that family. And then their brothers went on to kill a bunch of kids. No need for deportation. Yeah. We'll go to the next one here, because, 600 every day at this point. Yeah. Just more asylum seekers turn up illegally. Just criminals off the bat.
Yeah.
But trust me, everything will go well. And obviously, I want to mention this is massively unlike, say, Ji-Yoon Park, who we've interviewed and spoken about before. A North Korean refugee who, might have been fleeing something. And also, no threat to the public, for some reason. It's almost like we didn't used to have this problem when we used to let in refugees and asylum seekers. Only in recent years, and I mean since 1997 something happened, refugee terrorism became a thing. In fact, we've done this before. The estimate I got from just going through it was around about 40% of all terrorism in the UK is now caused by asylum seekers, despite making up 0.1% of the population.
Not even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. I wish you go to the next link here because there's a Sudanese refugee as well who raped in Exeter University. This particular case is interesting because the Home Office knew he was being charged with rape and suspected of being a rapist whilst they were taking the application, and still approved him. They didn't want to find out if he was an actual rapist first.
Do they want him to rape again? I mean, what is he going to take from that? So I raped someone, I flee. And it's like there was one in Austria, murdered a kid in Austria, and we took him in. He murders again. It's like, okay, but it's like we must be telling them we're in favour of the crimes you commit.
We'll get the next one here, because I think for a moment, and maybe this is too much on my part, maybe I'm evil for saying so, but I thought we'd take a look at the other option that's apparently on the table, that we always get told.
Yeah.
So, well, there's one option, which is we just praise the ideology, and then this happens again, and we praise the ideology.
Yeah.
And the other option we get told from the establishment is far right will take over.
Oh, yeah.
And then what? It'll be worse.
Fewer terror attacks? That'd be awful.
Be way worse, trust me.
Yeah.
Nigel Farage might get a knighthood.
Nigel Farage might deport some terrorists.
So let's check out a local chap. Let's take him as the avatar of evil.
Average far-rightist.
Millwall fan hailed as Lion of London Bridge after terror attack, probed by Met Police after racist rant. So there we are.
You may have saved some lives, my friend, but you said something racist.
So, I mean, the alternative we're being said is the anti-terrorism far right would take over, and what would they do? Well, we have it personified in Roy over here. Beautiful name.
South FC.
What did he say? He said, the man dubbed the Lion of London Bridge after he took on terrorists shouting, F you, I'm Millwall, during the terror attack, is under police investigation after going on a racist rant.
Of course he is. It's just... Of course he is.
The 47-year-old hero, they put hero in quotations, as if he's lost his status now. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was a hero, but then he was like...
He was stabbed 8 times in the Black and Blue Steak restaurant in Borough Market as he protected other customers and waiting staff from 3 terrorists with knives.
But don't you dare make a generalization about these people.
I mean, do you remember when that happened? Do you remember the video clip from one of the restaurants?
Not offhand, no.
There was a video clip from the specific attack, because we have to make even with London Bridge, there's so many, in which the people barricade the doors, hide down, and someone pipes up who's a bit drunk and goes, "Oh, the Muslims." And then everyone goes, "Oh, shut up."
Oh, yeah.
It's not the Muslims.
Yeah.
They were Muslims.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Just for some reason, turns out they were. Roy, with 2 dogs in tow, approached a group chanting...
It's just a coincidence, right? I mean, it's just darts in the board. Yeah. He happened to get it right this time.
So, the racist rant, he was he approached a group saying, Trump and May have got to go. The group there were chanting that in Elephant Castle in South London in February. The dad of one can be seen screaming, "Ban the foreigners, you C-word," before spitting at the Black Movement for Justice campaigner, so BLM people, who were photographing the demonstration.
Right.
He then shouts, "Shut up, you C-word. F off, you spastic paedophile C-word. W word, I'll smash the life out of you. Yeah. People like you smell like S."
I think we get the impression.
I don't think... No, we got to do more. Because I really want to get the point across that, yeah, he's not some kind of, like, perfect hero.
Yeah.
Motherless C-word from C-word, F-word off, keep moving, F-word off, you foreign C-word, F you off, C-words, your mum, F your mum.
Okay.
It goes on.
Yeah.
Right, okay. There's no information about why he approached them or what they might have done to him. Presumably because they're BLM supporters, they were engaging in peaceful protest. I mean, we just have to take that as the assumption. So there we are. We have Roy as our avatar of the alternative. And yes, clearly the future would be absolutely worse off because racism is worse than murder. I genuinely believe that. That is my wholehearted position. Isn't it yours, Carl?
Well, I mean, I believe everything the British government says.
It's amazing. But then, finishing off to check in on the British, just real quick, we'll check out how are they doing as existing. We've been over this. 0.0% in places in London. You could just Google map that place and check it out. We've been over. If you get the next one, we can Google map it, please. And local bus telling you about how to get a Pakistani bank account.
Yeah.
Well, I can see that every day.
I covered this on the podcast the other day. They did a poll of the political concerns of people in Newcastle Central, and top of the list was
Palestine?
democracy in Pakistan.
Oh, really?
Second on the list was Palestine.
Zooming out gives us a look at the future of all of London, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's Brent there at 15%.
Yep.
And then if we scroll out, you can just see London is just not there anymore in terms of what it used to be. We can also just see the estimates as we've been over. If you scroll down there, we can see for some reason you're allowed to talk about this when it comes to Palestine. That's perfectly fine. Great point. Look at the Israelis colonizing Palestine. Same principle applied to London is not so. allowed. Wait, hang on a minute. No, it is. It's perfectly allowed. As long as you're celebrating it.
Good point.
TfL.
Sadiq Khan. We need more foreigners. Why?
Stage left to enter Sadiq Khan and TfL, Transport for London, to tell us, oh, it's great. It's a good thing. If we go to the next one here, we can, I believe, see that. This is colonisation in reverse. That's been put up yesterday on the London Tube because, well, everyone in London will presumably love this. I mean, this chap did from Jamaica.
What a joyful news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart...
Do you mind if I read it in normal English instead of the Jamaican dialect?
You go ahead.
So, what joyful news, Miss Matty. I feel like my heart is going to burst. Jamaican people colonising England in reverse. By the 100, by the 1,000, from country and from town, by the shipload, by the plane load, Jamaica is England bound. What an island, what a person, man and woman, old and young, just packed the bag and baggage and turn history upside down. That is now on the London Tube, being advertised to the public to enjoy.
That they are colonising England.
Thank you for the reminder, it is a punishment. And that's how you are phrasing it to everyone who lives in London. But guess what? Well, who lives in London? We'll move on. We'll go to just some other data. Birmingham, of course, we've spoken about before. I did a little bit of searching. I thought I'd just read off the list of towns and cities across the country that are in the Birmingham space of, well, not being English.
Yep.
So we've got Manchester, Leicester, Luton, Slough, Bradford, Blackburn, Sheffield, Peterborough.
These are all majority non-English.
Thereabout. Next 10 years, who will be joining them? Well, if current trends continue. Southampton, Swindon, Bristol, Cardiff, Newport, Oxford, Cambridge, Milton Keynes, Coventry, Nottingham, Doncaster, Leeds, and Huddersfield. So there we are. So that's a third of the country.
Yep.
Great. We've got the state media.
It's a quarter at the moment, but yeah, it will become a third.
We have the state media here who have decided to tell us that, yes, indeed, the purpose of immigration is economic suppression.
Not enough migrants arriving to keep pay down.
This is Irish news there. And
sure, but like...
the BBC also saying the same thing.
Immigration can help keep down... Yeah. So, I mean, what I love about this is that at least you can see that the establishment is in an economic war with the people.
Yeah, I mean...
And they're using migrants as a weapon.
That's their words.
Yeah.
I'm not even... I'm not saying anything.
I want pay to go up.
If we go to the other daily propaganda about how this is totally normal, trust us. They've blocked us. This is a lady from LBC who's blocked John here, I presume, in which she was arguing that black people have always been in England forever. And this is literally her argument, which is this one trumpeter from Henry VII. I mean, he was such an oddity because he has black skin. He employed him in the royal court to just blow a trumpet.
Yeah, and in the margins of this is a snail jousting with a bunny rabbit, you know. Look.
Yeah. But we even if we presume that's true, what that tells us is not that the country was massively black in the 1500s. No. It was that black people were so rare they were snatched up by the king as a unique oddity. But no, the LBC doesn't get that. They're just state propaganda in my view, progressing the state's view constantly. If we go to the next one as well, we also have the thing you've mentioned, which is taking down the wrong flag. And when you go and ask...
I hate it when they're like, don't you think we know that? It's like, then stop doing it. It's like, we're being paid to. Okay.
The English workers know, though.
Yeah.
What is the state of the English? They're all aware.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly aware.
Yeah.
None of us live in the cities, because why would we if we can help it?
Yeah.
We all live out of them. Increasingly, there are less of us. In fact, as I mentioned, what was it? A fifth of the country is now just not.
Fewer, but yeah.
And there'll be a third, and then there'll be half, and then what'll be left. If we get the next one, we can see more of that as well. There's no surprise to me then that the English diaspora don't live in England. I mean, this is just a chart.
Most English people don't live in England anymore.
Yeah, the majority don't live in England. I mean, even the UK, never mind England.
Yeah. I
mean, there's a lot of English colonisers of Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland. But you can see here the vast majority, second group, live in the USA. Mm-hmm. When asked on census data where they're from ethnically, the people answering English, huge majority in the USA, and then Australia, Canada, and New Zealand there, for the ones I could find. So there you have it. We'll just end this off with a little bit more, which is that I suppose we can enjoy that posting about our culture is still a thing. You can still savour it if you visit. Yeah. You will have to get out of the city you've arrived in by plane. I don't care which one.
Some good food there, though, I've got to say.
But that's a great point by this poster.
Good beef Wellington there.
Yeah. I don't know if you noticed, it's a whole theme.
Yeah, I've seen the trend going.
Yeah. And, well, you can get it now before it's replaced, I suppose, because we'll check out London cuisine real quick, if we can, which, for some reason, is not as diverse as that. Instead, it's all monocultural. In the next link, please.
Yeah, that is weird, isn't it?
Yeah, no one ever seems to think about it.
A lot of fried chicken.
Where would England be without the English? Here. There you are. Anyway, that's my point, which is that English culture is retreating. You'll be finding it harder and harder to find if you come and visit as a tourist, if you want to see it. The English are also a bit mad in their response to immigration. Very unusual for anyone outside the West. I mean, they genuinely do laugh at us on every trip I've been to. And
I don't blame them.
We'll get back to how state-organised that is on Monday. So do come and enjoy.
Thanks for watching this segment from the podcast Lotus Eaters. If you enjoyed that and feel like supporting us, you can access all of the premium videos that we've got on the website for as little as £5 per month. On the website, we also now have a search function, and the videos that you can watch include this, like Josh's Contemplation series, 128 episodes in, talking about Victorian values with Beau. If you want to keep up to date with what Josh is doing, you can follow him on Twitter and Getter at Josh Firm on Twitter, Josh_Firm on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.